Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Of course, if you need an orthopedist, you go to Brock. They're the absolute best. Had a good time over there this weekend, as a matter of fact, at their game day ready prep event. So, um, and of course, Parrish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. As well, you probably know awful weather that moved through here last night. Hope everybody is doing okay through that. Boy, was gnarly over here at the Scone household. We lost power a couple times. Thank goodness we have an Generac automatic standby generator. Call Optimize, generatorpeople.com, generatorpeople.com. But if you had issues with the weather last night, give us a shout. Our crews are rolling today, free, no obligation roofing inspections. If you had heavy wind, uh, rain, hail, let us come help you out. Parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Let me drop that in the comments there. Parishbuilt.com for those that may need the link. All right, we'll say some good mornings here. I did want to get to my apologies. There we go. I did want to get to uh, JVR Suggs. So JVR Suggs out of Grand Valley, where Brian Kelly, of course, began his head coaching career. Um, um, sorry. So JVR Suggs from Grand Valley State entered the transfer portal. LSU got in the mix late and had him on campus this past weekend for a visit. He's announced his final four of LSU, Michigan, Wisconsin, Kentucky, if I remember it off the top of my head. Let me make sure I got that correct. Yes, LSU, Michigan, Wisconsin, Kentucky are his final four. So we'll see who ultimately he chooses. I can tell you this: there's not a consensus among the LSU staff as to whether or not they should take Suggs. And for me, that's a little bit. I guess you could look at it and say, well, what do you have to lose, right? You have the roster spots. If you have a position of need, if the kid's available and wants to come to LSU, um, take him, right? I mean, I guess I understand that component, but I also look at it and go, why take a guy just to take a guy? Um, yeah, sure, you could drive competition, but the flip side of it is also, um, would he be taking reps from guys who are sort of incumbents that you've had here that could be bettering themselves? I guess my point is, if there's a plug and play option like we've talked about, if we are, you know, um, uh, sorry, just noticed Bubba's comment. The mic level is up this morning. Go pre-air checklist. Yes. Come on, man. It's like today's episode 2,292. You leave the mic down one time, and all of a sudden you need a pre-show checklist. Anyway, I guess look, I was thinking of it this way. If I look back in the history of college football, pre-portal, pre-NIL, and I know we live in an NIL world and a portal world, but just follow me here. And I told you, all right, look, you're losing Mason Smith, you're losing Jordan Jefferson, you're losing Mekhi Wingo, and that stinks, man. You're losing your three best interior defensive linemen. But you're returning Jacoby and Guillory, a fifth-year player. You're returning Jalen Lee, a fifth-year player. You're bringing in Gio Paez, a sixth-year player. You're bringing in a five-star number one player in the state of defensive tackle, Dominic McKinley. You're bringing in a JUCO transfer who started his career at Georgia. Like, we look at that and go, all right, let's roll. But I think the way Brian Kelly phrased it and saying, that was the only position they were going to be looking at the portal and they're actively seeing, he's made it feel as though it's a desperate need. And maybe it is. I mean, they're the ones there at practice every day knowing the players they have and what they have. Or maybe in a portal era, it's a luxury to be able to go add someone who is a starter. And, Dominic Williams and Simeon Barrow would have been starters. They're proven Power 5 starters. They're plug-and-play starters. But what's to say that Jalen Lee or Jacobian Guillory or Paris Shand kicking inside or Sean Washington or Gio Paez coming in, wouldn't be able to be just as effective as those other guys. Maybe they will with their chance. I'll tell you the guy I'm most interested in is Paez. And maybe I'm a little biased here because we had him on the show, but it's not that he came on the show. It's something he said when we interviewed him. And I thought of it because if you look at the thumbnail on today's episode, it's the picture of JVR Suggs in the LSU uniform, posing and all that stuff. And Gio Paez told us, he said, I didn't come to do the photo shoot. Uh, I don't need any of that. I just want to know how you're going to use me, what my opportunity is here to play ball, because he's been in a 3-4 at Wisconsin, where he's been a 3-4 end, and he's out of position. It was like when the Chiefs drafted Glenn Dorsey and switched to a 3-4 and made him a nose tackle. I mean, you got a 6'1", 300-pound nose tackle. What? you know, Glenn's one of the most disruptive interior linemen of this generation, and you made him a nose tackle. It's like me. I'm not telling you Gio Pie is going to be Glenn Dorsey, but if you go from being a 4-3 end to a 4-3 interior tackle, like, could you pop? Maybe. And so that's the guy I'm most interested to see. But anyway, all right. Y'all do me a favor if you're on YouTube there, smash that like button, subscribe up to the channel, Facebook, like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. We appreciate you for being here with us as always. And I'll continue to remind you, especially on this morning, about Parrish Construction and Roofing. Awful weather yesterday. Massive hail in Jennings. Saw that. I know there were tornadoes, and my goodness, hope everybody was safe through all of it. As you start to assess today, if you have limbs on your roof, if you notice you're missing shingles, a lot of times you go to your downspout, look for granules in your downspout of your gutters. A lot of times that's an indicator that you had impact on your roof. So just let us come give you a free, no obligation inspection. parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. It's there on the bottom. Okay, Trivia Carter, good morning. Hey, Damon, good morning. James, Taylor. Oh, there's Bub. I read that one. Ray, good morning. Ray's our veteran LinkedIn watcher and commenter. So appreciate that, Ray. Thanks for being there, man. What up, Fish? Good morning. Hope you're having a great day. Bill, good morning. Wendell, good morning. Brett Gidry, morning, Matt. We had some awful weather yesterday. What's the number to Any Day Now Roofing? I do not know the number to Any Day Now Roofing, but what I can tell you is the number to Parrish Construction and Roofing is 364-1007, the same as our old number. The number hasn't changed. Again, we're still in the same building. 364-1007, 364-1007, 364-1007. Juan, congrats on the new company. When can we expect a new jingle? You keep that dude in business. So first of all, absolutely, we will have a new jingle. We were on a conference call with Mr. Toby Tomplay on Friday, kind of telling him what we want, the vibe, all that sort of stuff. He's supposed to workshop some stuff and get back to us middle of this week. And so soon. And as far as keeping that dude in business, not really. Toby, if you listen to our radio station, the amount of jingles that he has done, it's basically every one of them. I think David St. Romain did GMFS, Changing Lives. That was David St. Romain. Almost all of the other ones have been Toby. I mean, he's brilliant. It's like it's gift. He can write a catchy hook and stick an earworm right in your brain. Jason, good morning. Don't forget Jordan 11's come out Saturday. I'm ready for it, bro. Thank you. Gorilla, real question people want answered is, when is the intro to AFR changing back to what it was previously? What do you mean what it was previously? I mean, we've always used Spoon Man. And then when Toby wrote the AFR theme, we do Spoon Man and blend it into the AFR theme, which I like. Bubba Smith, good morning. Josh, how exactly does the portal work for baseball, football, etc.? The player can't reach out to a school, nor can the school reach out, but a representative of the player can reach out to the school. So not exactly. So when a player enters the portal, then a school can contact the player. Um, if a school contacts the player before he or she enters the portal, that's tampering. That's against the rules. The way that the loophole that a lot of schools have used, and honestly, that a lot of players have used as well, is using some representative. So, for example, um, I'm a lineman. I'm a player at LSU. Let me give you a real example because it's one I've shared. It's Lance Hurd. So Lance Hurd was at LSU. He wanted a big NIL number for his sophomore year. LSU wasn't interested in paying him that. So Lance had a representative on his behalf call around. Right? Lance Hurd wasn't calling anybody. Schools weren't calling Lance Hurd, but someone could throw out hypotheticals. Hey, if Lance Hurd were to hit the portal, would you be interested? And if so, at what number might that look like? That sort of conversation. I probably shouldn't use a name, but it's a thing that happened. I mean, I've told you the story. Lance got a six-figure NIL deal coming out of high school. He wanted he actually wanted about double the number he got his freshman year for his sophomore year, and LSU wasn't interested in paying that. So Tennessee was. So he's a Tennessee Vol now. Hey, Dad, good morning. Brett, good morning. Broke open the Heaven Hill Select over the weekend. What a really nice pour. Have not opened mine yet, Brett. I'm looking forward to it, though. Brett, cheers to Brett. Was up in on the Bourbon Trail for the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby, and scored a couple of very nice bottles and was generous enough to sell me his extras. So he could have hoarded it, but did a very generous thing. So cheers to you, and also cheers to Darren James. Need a realtor? Call Darren James. Yeah, Brian. Hope all's well from yesterday's storm. Absolutely. Brant, morning. Musa was saying if the SEC tournament started now, LSU would be facing Georgia. Not a good matchup for us. This mountain LSU has to climb is getting almost possible to make it to the postseason. It's almost to the point of looking to 2025. Almost, but not yet, Brant. Got 3 games this weekend. Let's see how it goes. Rocky, good morning. Hope everyone fared well yesterday. Had some friends hit with the tornado. Fortunately, they're safe. That's the good news, man. Saw the footage of Pats and Henderson. Lake Charles has been Sulphur got hit really hard with a tornado as well. You just think about the storms from Lake Charles a couple of years ago, and they're just starting to recover. And being there a couple of weeks ago, but maybe it's been a couple of months now when I was over there with the Mockler folks when they bought Southwest Bev and I did my show down there. If y'all remember, I had Will Wade stop by. Really looked like the city was coming back, man. Hate to see this happen again. But yes, prayers and hope that everyone fared well through it. Quentin, good morning. Aaron, what up? Lance, good morning. Kelly Gross, Luis, Abner, good morning, y'all. Thanks for being here. Smash that like button if you would. Gary, good morning, Uncle Scone. Jackson, Matt, when eventually schools can pay players directly, will that be a good or bad thing for LSU? So here's the thing, Jackson, and it's an important point of delineation here. So they're not talking about, and this may sound like semantics, but it matters. They're not talking about paying players directly, schools paying players directly. They're talking about a revenue share, okay? And there's a big difference between taking a percentage of your athletic department revenue and sharing it with the student athletes and paying players a salary. Because if you're paying players a salary, now all of a sudden they become employees. And now you're talking about all the things that come along with, having them work as employees. A revenue share is, while it may feel just like semantics, it's not. It's okay, here's the X amount of revenue. Whatever percentage of the revenue we bring in is earmarked for rev share with student athletes, and they all get their check as such. And that also would not limit or eliminate their NIL opportunities. You could still go make money in your name, image, and likeness. The thing that I'm going to warn against, and Jackson, I'm going to continue to say this until I'm the color of this shirt in my face, till I'm blue in the face, is, man, you look at rev share, Okay, because everyone says, "Oh, they make billions of dollars," like, and every dollar is accounted for. And remember with Title IX, whatever you pay, whatever resources you give for male sports, the same resources have to go to female sports. So if you want to pay your 85 scholarship football players out of your revenue, well, then you have to match that number in women's sports as well. And ultimately, what's going to happen is that number, because remember, there's only a handful of athletic departments that actually turn a profit. You bring in money, and all the money is allocated for scholarships, for salaries, for travel, for recruiting budget, for facilities, for all the things. Well, if all that money is earmarked and you're not actually turning a profit, like you're operating in the red or just about break even, which most schools are, and now all of a sudden you're going to take millions of dollars a year out of your budget to give to the student athletes. Okay, well, what that means is now you're cutting somewhere else. Instead of flying private, are you taking buses? Instead of staying at really nice hotels, are you staying at the Holiday Inn? Um, instead of are you cutting positions? Are you cutting the recruiting budget? Are you cutting sports altogether? I mean, that's the thing that everyone who says, "Oh, they make all this money, got to pay the players." Okay, okay. But understand when you do that, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's not new dollars. You're taking dollars that are already allocated somewhere else and you're giving them elsewhere. Maybe you're not paying exorbitant coaches' salaries. And maybe that's a good thing. But if that's the case, then what caliber coach are you able to hire? There's a trickle down effect, a domino effect that most people don't consider when we have this conversation. Um, Cliff, what up, man? Jeff, good morning. And by the way, Jackson said, would it be a good or bad thing for LSU? I think it's going to be irrelevant because I think it's going to be a flat rev share conference to conference. And so that's not going to be the differentiator. The differentiator is still going to be NIL because even if you're doing a rev share, that doesn't mean NIL goes away. Aaron McKenzie, good morning, Matt and the fabulous Sconers. Joseph Fallsgraf, morning, Matt. Guessing you've heard Josh Pate. He gave you a couple shout outs on the show Sunday in regards to the Duce piece. I someone mentioned that to me. I've never met Josh. I've never spoken to Josh. I'm familiar with the work he does. He pops up in my feed all the time, and from all accounts, seems like he's crushing it. So, like, really good for him. I just don't know him. But someone did mention that he mentioned. So, hat tip. I think last week when someone mentioned that to me, I said I hope he's at SEC Media Days because I would like to meet him. I mean, and I tell you all the time. For me, that's the biggest benefit of Media Days. Obviously, it's a week worth of content, football content in July, which is great. But it's all of the it's all the networking you get to do at SEC Media Days, which is really cool. Jeff, what up, my dude? Luis, NIL is hurting college sports. Luis, I disagree. I think it's the exact opposite. Um, it's changing college sports, but TV contracts keep going up, viewership keeps going up. There's never been more interest, never been more games televised. I mean, there's nothing, there is no objective metric, Luis, that you could look at and say that NIL is hurting college sports. It's changing college sports, and you may not like that, but there's a big difference between NIL changing what you've always known and making you uncomfortable because change makes people uncomfortable and hurting college sports because the bottom line is college football is as healthy as it's ever been. Women's college basketball is literally just had TV ratings for Final Four games that have been a multiple upon what were previously the greatest games ever. By the way, Angel Reese, transfer portal. LSU doesn't win a national championship without her. What are we talking about here? So, I mean, Jaden Daniels got him via the transfer portal. What are we talking about? Joe Burrow, transfer. I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, man. Rocky, I'm excited about Gio Paez. Don't get hung up on the Suggs guy. He's not T-Sizzle. I'm just going to tell you, man, the thing about Suggs that gives me pause is the conversations I've had whenever I asked yesterday, like, did he commit? It was made pretty clear to me that there's not a consensus on Suggs on the staff, meaning not everybody wants to take his commitment if he wants to commit. So, I don't know, man. I just think you've got You've got numbers and veteran players. Somebody you would hope steps up and breaks through the way Jordan Jefferson did last year. Ty goes, can you explain the Musso Barbie intro? Yes. So when we do the AFR hour intros, we go around as we introduce the staff. There's a drop for everybody. Well, Brian Haldane was the producer, and his drop was Brain got to poop because call him the Brain. When Musso came back on the show, I said, Moose, we got to pick your drop. Pick anything. He goes, I don't care. I said, fine. Aqua, Barbie Girl. I just immediately thought of the most embarrassing thing I could think of because he was like, I don't care. He was like, no, no. I was like, nope, nope. You didn't care. That's it. And so as much as he tried to fight it, I've explained to him, and he gets it. He very much gets it now. Like if you can take something that is otherwise mundane and forgettable and make it memorable, you've done something, you've achieved something really cool. And the fact that people like you ask all the time about the Barbie Girl drop, the fact that we flipped that into a cool promotion, which actually won an award at the LAB, for the Bachelor around the Aqua concert and everything, that's pretty remarkable. Like that's not an easy thing to do in media when there's so much content created to make something that is mundane and forgettable inherently memorable. And we've done that with the Barbie Girl thing. So he gets it. Same thing with the 420 jokes. I mean, it's a bit. It's a radio bit. Have fun with it. It's theater of the mind. He's like, he gets it. I mean, he's fully embraced it. It's like he is complicit in the bit. Like he gets it. He's playing along. Eric, do you think the fact that we have to sweep changes the pitching strategy, i.e., can't empty the tank with Herring Little Friday? No, it doesn't, Eric, because you can't sweep if you don't win Friday. So you have to do whatever you have to do to win Friday. Now, ideally, you're up 15-1 and you run rule them and you don't have to use anybody. But if you're in a close game, you have to go win that game. And then you just, whoever the best guy you have the next day, you go with that. Gary, what up? Jason, the match shuffle. Yes, sir. Vernell, what's going on? Honest expectations for LSU this year. Vernell, I think it comes down to the Ole Miss game. If they beat Ole Miss, I think they find a way to go 10-2 and make the playoff. If they lose to Ole Miss, I think they're 9-3 and they're on the outside looking in. I think it comes down to that game at the end of September. I think they're going to beat USC. I think they're going to beat UCLA. You probably stub your toe somewhere along the way. Obviously, you've got Oklahoma coming here. You've got Bama coming here, which are tough games. But I think you got to go to A&M, which is the second of back-to-back road games at Arkansas at A&M. So there are spots on the schedule that are challenging, but I think if you beat Ole Miss, you go 10-2 and you make the playoff. All right, it's 8 o'clock. I got to get going. Thanks as always for being here with us. As always, shout out to Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. As always, if you need an orthopedist, Brock, they're just the very best. Locations all over the greater Baton Rouge area, including their primary location on Blue Bonnet near Perkins inside the Surgical Specialty Center. And of course, if you had that bad weather, check us out at Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Or if you'd prefer to call, you can call. You can email me or text me directly. I'm more than happy to help facilitate getting you in touch with one of our inspectors to get to your house. Same number, 364-1007, 364-1007, or parishbuilt.com. Okay, y'all have an awesome day. We'll see you. Peace.